Hey guys, I thought this would be the easiest way to do our history together was just go ahead and have out your history anthology. And when you're ready, turn to page 166. All right. And we will just read that along together. You'll just be kind of looking over my shoulder, looking at your book, okay? So these are different points of view. This is a sidewalk reporter. If we were in class, I would pick different ones of you guys to act these people out. But the sidewalk reporter says, what do you do to get along with your neighbors? Amanda, what does she say? That's right, I clean up after my dog. We take nightly walks with our dog, and we always bring poo-poo bags with us. And my husband usually picks up other people's doggies' poo-poo because we're not going to leave it on the sidewalk. Mr. Kim says, I keep my home and yard neat. I'm sure all your neighbors would appreciate living next to someone whose yard and house looks neat and clean and attractive. Josh says, I drive slowly and watch out for people. I appreciate that. You don't want to step out in front of someone who's not being careful. Mrs. Avila says, I work on the city council. Elena says, I don't litter. I use trash cans in the park. And then it says, it's your turn. Do you do any of the things that these citizens do? If so, which ones? I don't think you do that one. What do you do to get along with your neighbors? Something to think about. Here, this is true. Way back in 1817, there was a little 6-year-old Native American girl. She was a Cherokee. She began working with her father's Sequoia. I don't know if you recognize that, but we do have a park called Sequoia National Park to help the people of her community get along. By 1821, they had created an alphabet for the Cherokee people. 6 years old. That's pretty cool. Okay, go to the next page where we have a fable, an Aesop fable. Remember, we studied fables before. They're a short story with a moral. You can read that along with me. An old man called his children to give them some advice. In his hands he held a bundle of thick sticks. The old man said to his eldest child, that's the oldest one, break the sticks. His son tried and tried, but he could not break the bundle of sticks. Both the daughter and the younger son tried too, but none of them could do it. Look, said the old man, untie the bundle, and each of you take a stick. When they had done this, the old man called out to them, now break. Each stick was easily broken. You see my meaning, he said. What is the moral of the story? Working together, we are strong. And the question is, what makes our country strong? Well, I think working together and not against each other makes our country strong. Okay, the next page talks about Yerba Buena Gardens. That's actually in San Francisco. You guys could visit there. It says, visitors to San Francisco and the people who live there enjoy visiting Yerba Buena Gardens. This place is more than a garden. There are also theaters, museums, a bowling center, a playground, an ice skating rink, and much more. There is something for everyone at the Yerba Buena Gardens. You can learn how to make animated videos. You can ride a carousel. I remember taking my kids to that carousel when they were little. There's a waterfall that's part of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. Many kinds of art to see in the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. People can enjoy dance, music, and plays at the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts. And you could take a virtual tour if you go on that website. You might want to get your parents to help you do that. And the next part is a quiz. If we were at school, you'd be taking home study notes, taking a test, but we're just going to go over this. Why don't you read the government little idea? A government makes laws to maintain order and help people get along. It says copy and fill in the main idea and details in the chart to show what you have learned. Well, you would probably just copy a government. The main idea of this chapter is a government makes laws to maintain order and help people get along. One of the details kind of says that a government makes laws that citizens must follow, and that helps keep law and order. People who break laws have consequences so they don't keep repeating and are an endangerment to other people. And thirdly, it might be something like a government is a group of others, a group of citizens that runs a community. That is what a government is, a group of citizens that help run a community. Okay, what would you say for number 1? We've got citizen, government, law, president, and vote. My neighbor, Mrs. Arnold, likes to in elections. What do you do in an election? You're right, vote. By voting, she helps choose the people who run our community. This group of people, called a helps everyone get along. What is it that helps everybody get along? A government. This group of people, called a government, helps everyone get along. Mrs. Arnold is a good in our community. She's a good president. She's a good law. She is a good citizen in our community. She follows every or rule. Law is another word for rule. I think she could someday be our country has a president, and keep it a good place to live. You might want to talk about what kinds of freedoms do Americans have. Remember what we had read. Let's see if I have that on. Tells what page. Yeah, on pages 132 and 133. If you want to turn there. 132 and 133. This goes over some of our freedoms, right? We have the freedom of religion. We have the freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Freedoms are our rights to make our own choices. We can live and work where we want. We can follow our own religious belief and share the ideas that we have. What is the job of a judge? Well, on page 139, if you want to turn there, here it is. What does it say? Let me hear you. A judge is a person in charge of a court. Judges make sure that the courts carry out laws fairly. Okay. What are some ways people in other nations become leaders? And that was on 156 and 157. We don't all become leaders in the same way. Okay. Right up there it says, in different nations, people become leaders in different ways. In some nations, leaders are chosen by citizens. That's like in America, it's a vote. In other nations, people become leaders by winning wars. The leaders of some nations are born into the families. They just grow up to take the place of their parents. Okay, the next question. How many judges are on the Supreme Court? Was that 5, 9, 12, or 10? What do you say? Good, 9. I knew you guys would not remember that. Number 10, who helps make agreements between governments of countries? Congress, Supreme Court, ambassador, or president. Do you remember that one? I drew a picture of that Embassy Row. There it is. Who helps make? An ambassador is a person who speaks and acts for his or her government in another country. So that answer would be ambassador. Okay. Is there more? Okay, the next page. Why do you think new laws have to be added to the Constitution? Well, things change, don't they, over time. And some laws are either not good, they never worked very well, They don't take into consideration we're all created equal. So there are times when old laws just don't work anymore, and we have to have some new ones. What would happen if there were no consequences for breaking laws? What do you think? If there were no consequences for breaking a law? Well, there are good people that it wouldn't matter, but then there are other people that if they had no consequence, they would continue to be lawless and break the law. And they have to be brought to justice, right? Okay, looking here in number 13, looking on your book, what is the capital city of New Mexico? Do you remember how to tell a capital city? You're right, it has a star. Santa Fe. What states share a border with Washington? Don't say Canada, because that's not a state, but Oregon and Idaho share. Oregon shares its northern border. Idaho shares its western border. Of what state is Salem the capital? You see Salem? What state? Oregon. Salem, Oregon. What is the capital city of Idaho? Boise is how you say that, Boise. And over here you have a tally chart. Who has the least amount of votes? Read. How many votes does Meg have? 6. How many votes does Arturo have? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And who has the majority? Do you guys know? Arturo. That's right, because majority means the most. Okay? And that's the end of that whole unit on government. Thank you, and stay tuned for more. All right, guys? See you later.